What's going on, guys? It is James. I'm back again on another episode of 80/20. And today we've got someone by the name of Kate. And if you're watching this is probably not a face that you've seen before, but I think this is going to be a hell of a conversation. Kate and I met through me managing CrossFit Brookhaven. She is a tatted up woman that loves Olympic lifting and has a hell of a job that I found extremely interesting when we first got together. So Kate, first of all, thank you for coming on the podcast.
You're more than welcome.
Yeah, greatly appreciate that. Second, what do you do?
So I am a licensed funeral director and embalmer, and I work here at a funeral home in Atlanta.
Okay.
I've been there for about 2.5 years, almost 3 years.
Yeah, cool. So what drew me to you first was that you hang out with dead people, right? More than you hang out with alive people. And
Yes,
to me, that is a fascinating thing because I don't think that most people have really even seen a dead person.
Yeah.
Right? Like ever in their life,
No.
never in front of them. And you hang
A
out
lot
with
of people have
more
never been to a funeral, and I find that baffling.
Yeah, that's crazy. So cool. I kind of want to jump into how you got here, right? So you're a funeral director and you're an embalmer, but what does that look like, the path to get there, and what drew you to this job in general? Like that seems like a very specific place to end up.
No, so I grew up in Duluth, and over there's actually a funeral home called Billhead Funeral Home. And let's say it's right here. And if you were to take the road around, my grandparents lived on the other side of the road, on the other side of the church. So growing up, always went to my grandparents' house, always took a walk in the morning and the afternoon to the funeral home to hang out. And then when I got older, I realized that I've been to more funerals than most people have ever seen. And when I was a freshman in high school, my dad actually passed away. So this funeral home in Duluth handled my dad along with everybody in my family. So grew up, went to college. I got a normal undergrad. I got my bachelor's in legal studies, and then I came home and I decided I wanted to go to mortuary school because I want to help people, because I know what it's like to be on the other side of the table and just how shitty it is, in all honesty, and just being able to be that person on the other side that kind of takes the burden off of someone, good or bad.
Well, that's a hell of a response, and not really the one that I thought you were going to give. Welcome to the Dead Dad Club. I too am a member. I lost my dad when I was 16. But that didn't draw me into funeral home directing. I'll tell you what, it actually pushed me away from doing anything in there because my experience wasn't too pleasant. Can you talk about that experience that you had?
Wait, go on.
Well, I mean, it was just like it seemed as though that the funeral home that I'm not going to name by name was apathetic, right? And my mom was distraught. My dad was my mom's rock. I mean, so far as any one of us could imagine, really, I guess. Grew up Western Christian. Okay, so Baptist, like very Southern Baptist, and so Pops was leader of the household, right? Pops made all the decisions. Mom was kind of right hand man, but right hand woman, obviously. But when he died of cancer, I mean, we went through the whole funeral home process and had open casket for the viewing, or for the, what is that called? A wake?
Yeah.
That was called
like
wake,
visitation wake. Yeah.
Had that happen. And then we cremated his ass. Like he was
cremated. Okay. I thought you were going to say y'all buried him.
No. It just seemed like the funeral home was so apathetic. They were like, yeah, you're another, like, it felt like we were kind of just another number. Yeah, well, It obviously is. I mean, like personal training or the gym where we met or the dentist or whatever. Yeah. It's all a business. I get that. But I think that there's some human component, right? At least maybe there should be, because we're talking about dead people. We're talking about people that mean something to us, right? So I was just like, damn, they're really apathetic and taking all of our money.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't understand like why things are so expensive.
Yeah.
But that's a whole nother topic. But so you had your experience. Mine was a whole lot different. My dad actually died from suicide, and he shot himself. And I was actually at camp when it happened. And so my family came and got me. We come home and we go and meet with the funeral director. I believe they had already done everything from what I can remember. Like my mom had already handled everything by the time we got there, but we got to see him, which was very, like, that was the lasting impression, was that we got to take him his clothes and we got to see him. And when I say he looked absolutely perfect, except for the fact that he was wearing mascara and that made me feel weird, he looked perfect. And we
so you got
didn't
to see him
do
after he was
Mhm.
and I don't know what
after they embalmed.
I hope that you can kind of shed some light on how all
Yeah.
what all goes down, but
Yeah.
you saw him not before they prepared him, but after.
No,
Okay.
I got to see after, and my dad had shot himself in his forehead. So you can only imagine the after, what it would look like. And I've never saw it, obviously, but I got to see him after they embalmed him, and they did restorative art and they took care of him and he looked perfect. And then we did a visitation and everything like that, but he wasn't present. Nobody saw him but the immediate family. And then we cremated him. Everybody wore Hawaiian shirts to the funeral and it was fantastic. So a lot different from like the normal traditional funeral. Even the more you did a traditional funeral with cremation.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different. But yeah. But fun story is flash forward to 2020. I started at the funeral home that I'm at. And I was told I did some part-time work for that funeral home at Billhead that took care of my dad. And they told me, oh, you're going to work at A.S. Turner. There's a guy that works there that used to work with us. Okay, cool. So I start work and I'm going to the airport one day with my coworker. His name is Paul Marks. And I was like, you worked at Billhead, didn't you? Right? And he was like, yeah. Like, what about it? I was like, were you there in 2009? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, do you remember my dad? And he was like, I don't really know. I was like, he died July 9th or July 7th, 2009. And he was like, was he wearing a red Hawaiian shirt? Like, oh yeah. He embalmed my dad, which is really cool. So I got to like come full circle that now I'm working with the people that took care of my family. But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Does that bring you a level of comfort knowing that they took care of
you?
A
little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And knowing that I'm learning from the person that did such a good job back then is pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, is it cool that you're learning from him because he took care of your pops in that time of need, or is it cool because you see the gravity of what good work can do for a family in that scenario? Like, is it because it's more personal, or is it
because it's personal? Like, he took care of my dad. It's just cool to be able to like thank the person that embalmed my dad however many years later. But it's also cool to know that I'm learning that level of skill. And I've had multiple occasions where I've done something like that, where I've had to put back together someone's head, or I had to set someone's bones, and the family comes to me and they thank me for how their loved one looks.
Wow.
I find that kind of repaints a picture for people.
How much?
That's why
Go ahead.
I kind of get sad when people are like, oh, we don't want embalming, we don't want to see him. I'm like, but we could do it. We could make him look good again, or her. But yeah.
Do you find more satisfaction in putting someone back together and them seeing them, or you necessarily just doing the work, whether they want to cremate or not, and knowing that you're doing it with a seriousness that someone did it for you before? Like, yeah. Is it one or the other, or both?
I always love whether a family is going to open the casket and look or not. I love making someone look the best that they can be, whether it's painting someone's fingernails, or if it's putting makeup on a young girl, or putting a little girl's teddy bear with her. Like, it gives me comfort knowing that, like, no matter what, that person is looking their best, whether they're embalmed or not. You don't have to embalm.
Yeah.
Always try to put makeup on people, make them look good, because you never know at the last second a family might change their mind and want to open that casket.
And you want to make sure that you did the best job that you could, so that when they open them, they're not shocked. And if they are, they're shocked in a good way. They're like, wow, how did that? How? Yeah. Not in like that's not him. I don't see him there, or I don't see her there.
But I've had people be like, that's not what mom looks like. Like, I like when people give feedback because I can change things before visitation starts. I can work on things like that, or if I need to change someone's tie, I will. So I like whether it's good or bad. If the family looks and if they can be honest with me and give feedback, it just makes me know that they trust me.
Yeah.
I don't know. It kind of all comes back to like that person's dead no matter what we do. But if I can give comfort to the family through making that person look good, then we're good. Then I've done my job.
Okay.
And done it well.
Are you cool if we pull on a few serious pieces of some of the first things that you said?
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about suicide in general? Can you talk to me about how serious you are with other people having suicidal ideation, or what that looks like, how you have, what's your journey, your mental health journey, or your support for those around you has looked like since you lost your father to it?
I can say that when my dad died, my worst fear, and it's still my worst fear, is that my mom going the same route. It's always been like I constantly have that anxiety from that. But my anxiety probably started and I got really depressed after he died. And I started having panic attacks when I started college. I kind of learned that like when big things happen in my life, I kind of like go down a hole. But being able to use that event in my life to help kind of shed light and help others around me, including myself, be able to recognize like when you need to take care of yourself, that it's okay to feel like shit some days, especially in children. So when I went back to mortuary school, it's always been like all my families are important to me, but the suicides, especially children, and especially in the past couple of years, it's gone up. And every time it comes across, I want to make sure that that family that comes in to meet with me, that not a single one of them is going to show up on my table. And that goes across the board with anybody, with my family, with my friends. You could ask anybody. I always want to know, how's your mental health? And how are you feeling? What do you need? Or what do you not need? It's more of just being able to get in touch with yourself. That's what I want people to be able to do. So going back to my high school, talking to kids, talking about suicide prevention, because I feel like the range of like probably 10 to 17 years old, those kids are kind of neglected when it comes to mental health.
Yeah, no, I totally hear that. I can definitely see what you're talking about. When people say that suicide is selfish, is that something that you agree with?
Partially. I used to think that like wholeheartedly, but I've come to learn that when somebody's going down that path and they get to that point where they feel like this whole world is better without them in it, and everybody around them is better off without them in it, it can't be selfish anymore, because those people literally can't think about the people around them. They're not thinking of the effects that it's going to last. They think everybody's going to be better off. I don't think it's selfish. I think it's selfish when people say like, oh, you have nothing to be sad about. Like, you're 12 years old, you're in school, you're getting bullied. There's really nothing to be sad about. You're just a kid. You haven't even experienced life yet. That's when it becomes a problem. I think suicide can be a reflection of the environment around that person.
So, I mean, in your estimation, what does suicide prevention look like? Our national hotline, with the short code that came more recently, right, on your phone, like basically the speed dial. You look at Logic's song, right? You look at suicide, national suicide what is it's National Suicide Prevention. It's Service. It's a 501c3. I'm blanking on the name. Mental Health Movement was affiliated with them, and I did some work with them. But I mean, the like what's the answer, right? Like I have never, and I'll be the first to say right now, like I have never thought about suicide. I've never thought that it's like I've thought, oh shit, sometimes things are hard, right? But I can't resonate with that. I haven't had those thoughts. So, and I'm not saying that you have. I'm not applying that to you, but I mean, as being someone that had a father that took his life with suicide, I mean, like what do you think? What do you think the answer is here? Like, when does it start? Whose responsibility is it? Like, what should we be doing for communities, for friends, for family? Like, I don't have the slightest clue how to necessarily actually change this.
Yeah. So I think it starts with family, and then I think it starts with friends, and then it goes to school, and then work, things like that. I think that people are shamed nowadays for having mental health problems. I'm definitely a person that has all of the above. I've had suicidal ideations. I've pulled myself out of it. But I think it starts with when kids are little, when being able to teach them that, like, whatever you're feeling at a moment is okay, as long as you can vocalize it. And then it goes to the people that are hearing that information being able to support. So, for example, I have two nieces. One is almost 4 years old and one is almost 2 years old. And the one thing that I try to instill in them is, like, when you're upset, being able to talk about how you're feeling, using your words to express how you feel. If you're sad, if you're angry. Right now, my brother's deployed in Africa. My niece had a little bit of issues over the weekend that she was acting out, but it was a reflection of her missing her dad. So I think when you can connect with someone and be able to talk about their feelings, it's very important. And I think that starts when you're little. I grew up in a family that we don't talk about how we feel. Something's wrong, you fix it, you move on, you don't talk about it. So I learned through my dad. He had a massive stroke when I was in 7th grade. It changed his entire personality. He went from being my number one person to I never wanted to be around him because he was really mean. Wouldn't talk about how he felt. When he started getting depressed, I knew that my mom knew that he was depressed, but we didn't know as kids. He never spoke about how he felt. He would lash out at people, things like that. So setting that example for your kids is something that's very important. So we talk about how we feel. We're able to be accepted for how we feel. Now that when we leave the house, we go to school, having teachers in the community and the support system within that school that takes kids seriously when they come forward with a problem, whether it be bullying or, like me, I had a lot of grief my sophomore year of high school, nearly failed all my classes. And I think that keeps these kids from going home, and especially because everything follows you on the internet when you go home, whether, like, going back to the bullying thing. I think it's important that schools need to start taking these kids seriously, set up a program where if they need to go talk to people, because it's hard to be a kid, it's hard to grow up and be an adult, and we're shamed for, like, I need a day to stay home because I feel like crap and I'm not going to be able to get anything done. So that extends to, like, going to work. And honestly, when I go to work, if I'm depressed and I'm not feeling good, I am not going to be able to serve that family that's across the table for me. So I'm the first one that'll call out sick if, like, anything's too much. I've done it twice since I've been there. And it's important to be able to recognize things within yourself. Therapy, I do that every other week. It's a very important thing, and it's a non-negotiable. Same thing with going to the gym. It's another part of my support system. It is my therapy. It's a big part of it. And when I miss it, things start to go south. But I think being able to just have a support system, have people you trust, surround yourself with people who care about you and will listen. Listening is where it starts. My personal opinion.
Well, yeah, we're extremely interested in your personal opinion. I mean, that's why you're here, Kate.
Yeah, I know. I know, but I get very I can get very upset easily and very angry when it comes to depression and anxiety in kids and young adults, because a lot of them aren't taken seriously, and that's how they end up in front of me.
Yeah. I mean, who's not taking them seriously? Is it their bosses at work? Is it their professors at school? Is it their parents? Like, who's not taking them seriously?
All of the above. Yeah. I think and it's also a lot of kids being afraid of oh, I think that I shouldn't be alive anymore. Like, that's terrifying. So I think being able to make a person feel comfortable enough to come forward and tell anybody, literally anybody, that this is how I feel, because it takes that one step to keep that person living.
Yeah.
I dealt with it all the time.
Yeah. About
Teenage
how often
suicide is going up.
Yeah. About how often do you see someone come across your table and then you see a family member from suicide come back across your table?
I've had it happen a couple times.
A couple times, definitely too many.
Yeah. And I've also had one family that parents are divorced. Dad shot himself and he wasn't found for a couple weeks. And I spent all day with mom and her 3 children because they were so afraid of this one daughter committing suicide when she got home. Like, they were terrified. Didn't end up seeing her. Very thankful. I've talked to her recently. She's doing good. But I feel like if I have to see it once, I'm going to see it again.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see it again.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to see a child come across my table. I don't ever want to see the 80-year-old man come across my table. But it happens, and it's not going to stop. But it needs to go down. And it starts with everybody else to help prevent it.
Yeah. So, in other words, like, you can only do so much to console family at the time that someone's already coming across your table, but you're recommending that people be an ear, they lend a shoulder, they give out hugs, they're there for those people to support them before it gets to the severity and the seriousness of someone's now on your table. And now you have to explain to the family what's going to happen next. And then there's the potentiality for someone else in that family in front of you to do it as well. Yeah. If you're comfortable sharing about what percentage are suicides of people that come across your table?
It comes in waves. It's kind of odd.
Cyclical around, like, is it seasonal, or is it more like around certain markers in people's lives?
I would say the holidays are a big one. Right after the holidays, first of the year, COVID had a giant spike in suicides. I would say. Do
you think that's based on isolation?
I know I would say with the teenage kids that came to me during 2020 and 2021, for sure. These kids were stuck at home by themselves doing everything online through Zoom, and they can't be around their friends. They can only connect through phones, internet, not really seeing people often. You isolate someone for long enough, and that can happen. With adults, I'm sure having probably jobs or lack thereof. Usually after the holidays are a big one. Right before the holidays are a big one. like getting around November, December. But it definitely spiked a whole lot, and it usually comes in like 3 or 4 at a time. So
Oof.
that's what I mean when it comes in waves. Like I usually say if we have one, there's going to be at least 2 more. And
Two
it's
more in the
usually
week, or
pretty
2 more in the day, or 2 more in the
like
month?
2 more probably within a week or 2.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
It's
And
the same thing.
go ahead.
It's also like the same things when I'm gonna say like the types of death, but like infants, like super young children, always comes in 3s
Oh, wow.
every time. Yeah.
Wow. What's the effect of the variety of people, the walks of life, the places in life, the cause of death? I mean, what's the effect on your mental health from the variety of things? Like, do some types of death or causes of death affect you more than others? Does a certain demographic? And I mean, we're just talking about on the side of empathy, right? Like you're
Yeah.
seeing these people come across. Like, what
Mhm.
affects your mental health more, and why?
So what doesn't affect my mental health, because I see it as a good thing, are your little old ladies and your little old men that are 90 something years old, had a great life, have a wonder family that come in and meet with me. I am not going to shed a tear on your service. Not because I don't care, but because I see it as like, this is a part of life.
Mm-hmm.
This is where we're supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay. When I see miscarriages or dilate and cleanings, which are when someone's far along in their pregnancy and they literally have to go in and clean everything out because the baby's not going to live. The first few of those I saw broke my heart. I went home and cried. Just because it's just sad to see something that could have been but wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
Suicides they're not hard on my mental health because it's what gives me pride taking care of those. Younger suicides, like I had a 12-year-old girl in 2020 that hung herself. I was a wreck for a couple days. Trying to think of what other things. Let's see. Suicides are number one. Homicides are kind of hard.
Mm-hmm. Like gunshot
Just
victims or stabbings or
more like
serial
people.
killers or what? Like, what are we talking?
No, don't even get me started on serial killers. I'm a big true crime fan, and I don't.
What?
I would say, like to be involved in something like that. To like take care of those people. I mean, obviously I couldn't talk about it, but I'd fall down that rabbit hole real hard. I'd try to be the medical examiner and solve that crime. But the few homicides that I've had have been, the first one I had was someone that had literally had their head bashed in.
Like blunt force? Like blunt force trauma? From a foot or like slammed on the ground or a hammer or what's up?
I don't know what it was, but
some sort of object or
a heavy object.
Sledgehammer.
So maybe. So that one was a little bit of trauma that I had to go over in therapy, because it's one thing to see it in a movie. It's another thing to literally see it in front of you. And I have to go into a room and tell that family, we can try, but I would advise you not to view. Those are hard. It's harder when that person is angry or I try not to I don't paint pictures for people about what their loved one looks like. If I say we shouldn't view, I just say, just trust my personal opinion. We don't need to be doing that today. But those are the ones that I go home and I think about. But I think when I go home and I go over all those things, it's better to think about it than to like compartmentalize and make it go away. It just doesn't work for me.
Mm.
But yeah, no, the homicides are different, especially here in Atlanta, because they can be really rough.
Is it rougher
Or
to see
you
multiple gunshots or multiple stab wounds?
stab wounds, it's more work.
More work, but isn't also oftentimes a little bit more personal? You have to get that close to slice and dice somebody.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like motive, like
Like
you got to be a different kind of animal to get that close and continue to stab somebody over and over and over.
Have you watched Mindhunter?
Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah. No, that's when you get into like that person knows you, or that person is driven by something else. But that's like the girl, well, her name was Katie. The girl, I didn't take care of her. But the lady at Piedmont Park in Atlanta that got stabbed. Yeah. And her dog got stabbed. Mm-hmm. You know, her dog's name was Bowie too.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So her name was Katie and her dog's name was Bowie. And my coworkers thought it was me. But it's not. I'm here. But
here you are in the flesh. No stab wounds.
Her wounds were very personal. Yeah.
That extra level of violence that comes across your table, does that affect you for days and days or weeks and weeks on end? Or is that something that you use, the methods that you talked about, gym, personal therapy, talk therapy, seeing somebody, is that where you get all that out? Is that how you're able to continue on and still do a great job for people?
It's yeah, that's where I get it all out, mostly at the gym, because I can lift heavy things and I can slam them on the ground. And then if I need to cry after. But I tend to kind of dwell on things, and I've gotten really bad about it with work, because if something was on the news, I will follow it. I have a homicide from a couple years ago that was a child, and I'm still trying to follow it because I know who did it, and they're sitting in Fulton County Jail, and I had to work with that person. So I'm bad about dwelling on things, but that's just my morbid curiosity, because I love true crime and I love learning about serial killers. And yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You'd think I was kind of weird.
I mean, don't you have to be some kind of special to do what you're doing? To hang out with more dead people than alive people?
Yes, and you have to have a morbid sense of humor. But it's nice because they don't talk back.
Oftentimes, comic relief, right? Comedic relief in scenarios that are supposed to be reverent and what have you, even if it's behind closed doors, is the only way that you can keep moving, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like the only way it's not all so serious. Because the fact of the matter is, and I think you'd agree with this, none of us make it out alive. Every single one of us will be across the table at some point.
It's one of two things: taxes and death. They're both guaranteed.
That's it. Like, you're not going to escape it. So, and I'd actually like to take this turn, because you can't escape it, and because literally your job is to prepare the people that haven't escaped it currently, right? What do you do to live bigger, to live deeper?
I'm still trying to figure that out. And I've been thinking about it like the past week, because I got a big change coming around the corner, and I'm like, I feel like I should be farther along in life. And then I think about it and I'm like,
a big change? Are you going to share with the class, or?
Okay, so I'm going to be the only one from my family left in Georgia. My mom got a job in Mississippi.
Okay.
And I'm like, well, I could stay here. I could move if I want to. And I'm like, well, it all comes down to money. And I'm like, I should be making more money. I'm 27 years old. Like, I should be farther along. And then I think about it and I'm like, funerals cost the same for everybody. And once you're gone, your money's not going to really matter. So I think it's just being able to recognize that, like, I'm doing good in the moment. That, like, I'm doing pretty well. I have 2 degrees. I should look at my, like, achievements now and be proud of them, rather than, oh, I should be making 100 grand versus what I make. And
well, isn't always grass is greener, and then sometimes it's still turf. Like it can be, you're like, oh, that grass is really green, or that dollar is really bright, but also it could be fake money and it could be turf, right? Like at the end of the day, they had a different starting point, or it's fake. It's a sham. It's social media. Whoa. You know,
like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Are you a big stoic? A big you versus you? Besting the villain inside yourself?
Yes.
Or would you say that you compare
I'm
yourself
my
to a lot of
hardest.
people?
I'm my worst like judge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very hard on myself.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's probably where most of my mental health problems come from, is just like I'm very hard on myself.
You said you create them for yourself? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm bad about it.
There's some self-awareness.
But I'm also good about coming back around and thinking about it and being like, yeah, no, that's on you. You put that on yourself when it's not really a concern. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're being quite abstract, but yes, I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah. Like, okay, hold on. Let me give it an example. Like, it's probably about money. I'm like, oh, you have this much in your bank account. You need to save more, blah, blah, blah. Like, you've only made this much in this week. And then I think about it and I'm like, I was gone for 4 days. I was out of town. Obviously, there's going to be a difference in things. Like, you're putting that unnecessary pressure. That week is already gone. You have a new week coming up. So don't worry about it. Yeah. It's okay. Like,
go ahead.
Over your head.
No, go ahead.
You have a roof over your head. Yeah. You're going to the gym. You're going to work. You're doing everything you're supposed to be doing. It's okay. But I can turn it around real quick.
And go the other direction. You can like become negative real quick. Do you think that because you can become negative so fast, you can also become positive so fast?
Yes. And I think it's a lot when I'm alone. I can become negative real quick.
How often are you alone?
A lot.
Alone at work or alone outside of work? Like, is it because of the hours?
When I get
like,
home, like when I get home at night, I can just start going down a rabbit hole. And then, but it doesn't take much for me to come right back out. Like, I'll be at home, not feeling so hot, very hard on myself. I'll cry. I'll think about work and things. But then I can kind of flip it around that I'm worth more to the people around me and the people I surround myself with than I think I am.
So do you create these scenarios for yourself, or is someone on the outside externally imposing them?
I would say it's kind of a double-edged sword. I do have a couple of people in my life. He's never going to see this. My boss, he is very
careful,
matter of fact, and very hard-headed.
I'm not going to take anything out, but continue.
No, he's fine. He's very hard-headed, but he's also one of those people that would drop everything to help you. But I feel like that can have a hard effect on me, just because it reminds me a lot of my dad. So when those things happen to me, I'm good about like being able to talk myself down, because I will go into panic attacks. But at the end of the day, I'm very thankful for where I work. I'm very thankful, and I absolutely love the people I work with. But that's one struggle I have, is that my boss reminds me a lot of my father. But I would say that I love him like a father figure.
So would you say that your boss is fulfilling the role of being your father in your father's absence? No. Is there an ideal that he represents for you, more so than you're like, hey, he's who I see as my father that's still here? Is there some characteristics that you're like, damn, that's my dad?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I also think he thinks the same of me as like a daughter figure, because he says, "Oh, I'm your funeral dad," and he's right. Like I go to him for a lot of things. We are literally family, and I can say that with everybody that I work with. But he definitely is someone that I look up to as I would a father figure. But it can do the same thing where like it kind of creates scenarios where I feel like I'm 14 years old again with my dad.
Do you think that it helps or hurts that you find that kind of magnetic pull to one another in the roles that you're missing because your pops isn't here?
I think it's important, especially with what we do for a living. I think if it was like in another kind of realm, like if we worked at a law firm or if we worked in like a sales job or just a normal corporate job, it would be
Odd.
yes, very.
Like if he was the owner of the gym and you were a coach.
Yes, very. Yeah.
Rod's
But
dad.
I feel like in seriously, yeah. Yeah, no, but he is the biggest pain in my ass, and he is also one of the best people. It's
Supports you in everything.
odd thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you think that he would
No.
support you if you ended up ever taking another role somewhere else?
Yes, I do. And I think that if I were to ever leave that role and come back, he would
still support
take
you.
me back.
He'd support you for who you are and what you've done and what you can do, not because you did this or you did this. Like, see ya.
Yeah. No, I've seen him support people who put much less effort into things or have made bigger mistakes than I have or would, and still supports those people and helps them find jobs or if they're going to make a big move. But you can always go back to Turner's.
Yeah.
It's an odd thing. If it was in any other occupation, it would be weird and it would probably be an HR violation. But where we work, we're literally the merry band of misfits and we're in a nut house and we can turn it on when it's time for a funeral, but we all scream and yell and cry and laugh and make awful jokes and fuck around. And
hell yeah.
And any other place, it would be not okay. We are one big HR violation, but I love them.
I'm gonna soundbite that. I love that. Speaking of the gravity of situations, right? A mistake as a mortician, as everyone outside of the industry would call you, right? Or a funeral director, an embalmer. If you make a mistake, what happens? And what's the gravity of a mistake that someone could make on the table?
How big? Well, okay. We always say that makeup can cover up a bad embalming job.
Okay.
So that's one thing. If you're good at cosmetics.
What does a bad embalming job look like? Like, is it that like you have like discoloration and we've got fluid chilling somewhere or like what?
So first of all, what embalming is. Yeah. So what embalming is, because a lot of people honestly don't know. I didn't know till I got in mortuary school. All I knew is that blood comes out and something else comes in. I feel like a lot of people have misconceptions on what embalming is. So we'll break it down. Do you have any assumptions of what embalming is?
I mean, I just like the show Dexter, so no. I mean, outside of him like bleeding people out, hanging upside down, that's really all I've ever seen. That's it.
When you think of embalming, what do you think we do?
I really think like almost a vacuum seal situation where like as you're pulling something out, you're replacing, right? So you're like pulling blood out and you're putting something else in almost at the same time so that you don't have collapsed cavities. Like that's what I think of. I'm like, okay, you're like draining and like filling in behind so that like you don't change shape and stuff doesn't like collapse and all kinds of crap. Just me thinking about liquid moving in and out of different different containers, right? Like here to then like a tube or whatever. That's what I would think that it would be, but that's about as far as my estimation can go.
No, because you're correct in your assumption. One big thing is that I do not perform autopsies. The medical examiner does that. So that's the person that investigates.
Is that someone from med school? Like someone
Yes.
that's
So
passed boards?
they are an MD. Most of the counties in Metro Atlanta, like Cobb County, Gwinnett, DeKalb, Fulton, they all have their own medical examiner office. So you have your MDs. Outside of that, you have coroners. Those are an elected official, and they are in like smaller counties. So when they have an autopsy that needs to be done, it usually goes to GBI, which is the Georgia Bureau of Investigation.
Very familiar with those guys.
Yeah. So deaths that would go to the medical examiner are obviously homicides, suicides, any like suspicious deaths. So let's say me or you kill over in the middle of the night. We don't have a medical history, nothing, we're not terminally ill. We would get autopsied because that's not normal.
Like, hold on. What happened?
Yeah. So the medical examiner can autopsy. Some hospitals autopsy, like university hospitals, a family can elect to have an autopsy. They will do it there. So that's when people talk about
like the head of something,
pathology. Yeah, their pathology department would do that. So those are the people that do like the Y incision. They take out organs. They do craniums, where they literally cut from ear to ear, take out the brain, look at it.
Like in so like a little, like do they cut like back and then they cut up and then they basically taking a piece of a cantaloupe out, or what's up?
Yeah, it's like they're taking the back of your skull off.
So where you see those pictures where it's like brain is sitting there and your skull is cut like right behind the ears, and it's basically your brain's just chilling.
But if they do it well, for our sake, they go from behind the ear, top of the head,
like underneath,
over, and then over to the back of the other ear. So that way, when I sew up, I can hide those incisions. It's hard.
So not like chilling across the forehead where you're like, we can't like just glue makeup on top for.
That's when you get into like wax and stuff. But okay, beside the point. So they take out organs. When they come to the funeral home, they will have all of their organs in a bag inside of their stomach, like their abdomen.
A bag inside of their stomach?
Yes.
Are they vacuum sealed? Are we about to sell them? What's happening?
No. So
they're all together?
Yeah.
Like your liver, your spleen, everything's just, here we go.
Yeah, everything's in a bag and inside the stomach. And then they do like a really bad stitching, and then they come to us and we embalm. So a normal embalming, someone that's not autopsied, all it is an exchange of formaldehyde and other fluids going in and blood coming out.
So it is like kind of a vacuum exchange, maybe.
Oh, it 100% is, because you need pressure in the vascular system.
Right.
So what we usually do, and what I like to do, it's based off the embalmer, is I make an incision on the person's, oh my gosh, I'm thinking of it from laying on a table versus standing up.
It's gonna be on your left side?
On the right side.
Right side, really?
Yeah, it's gonna be on the right side, like right above the clavicle. So it's just an incision. Oh, wow. We use these two little hooks, and what we do is we raise
like gauge. If you had to go like needle gauge, like how big are they?
Oh, they're just, do I not have one? I don't think I have.
You have one just chilling next to you?
Well, I have a box.
Hey James,
but it's mostly part of our.
Here's where we're going.
It will be. Okay, so they're not like gauge. They're called aneurysm hooks, and they're used for like hooking underneath veins and arteries and pulling them like up so that we can get
pop them. Like, are you like severing them like that? Like you're like hooking?
No. No. I'm like very gentle because I don't want them to pop. Because if that vein pops, being able to find anything is based off of feel, not sight. So.
Nope. I'm good.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yep. There's one girl I work with. Her name is Lindsay. She's like a Jedi. She can stick her hand in someone's neck and she'll pull up both with her finger. She's fucking fantastic embalmer. She's like Michelangelo.
How do you get good at
Okay.
that? Just reps,
Just doing it. Yep. There's anything.
getting
Just,
better under
it
the
gets
bars,
better
and
with
just
time.
reps. You just
Mhm.
continue to refine, learn from your mistakes, refine.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So would it be
And
fair to
one
say
big
that person could get away with a whole lot because of her understanding of anatomy?
Oh, for sure.
Hmm.
I've always thought about that. And I know that Ozark, I'm getting off topic, that like having a crematory,
Mhm.
you could be a serial killer.
I mean, they do it in Dexter all the time. Like they literally cremate bodies all the time.
I don't remember that in Dexter.
Dexter, have you seen New Blood?
No.
So the new episode, like the new season where he's like in a different place. Oh yeah, crematorium, like crematory is used all
Oh,
the time.
good.
Yeah. And it's like
Okay.
literally
I do need
baggies
to watch it.
and titanium pulled out and then baggies because it doesn't melt, and then thrown in. Here we go.
Yep. That's exactly what it's like. Okay. So back to embalming. You make an incision in both the artery and the vein. We inject formaldehyde.
Before you go any further, give everyone just like a quick difference in arteries and veins, because I think a lot of people don't know the difference.
Yeah. So your heart pumps blood. I feel like I'm teaching kindergarten.
You are teaching. That's literally what you're teaching. Yeah, we want to hear.
So arteries are a part of your vascular system. So that includes your heart, your veins, your arteries, and your capillaries. So the heart pumps the blood, and arteries take blood away from the heart. So you have a major artery that runs from your heart all the way down through your abdomen, and then it splits off into your arms and your legs. When that blood needs to come back, it comes back through the veins. So you have oxygenated blood going out through the arteries, unoxygenated coming back through the veins, going back to your heart and your lungs. So what I do is I want to pull the blood out of the veins from the veins, and I want to pump the formaldehyde in through the arteries. So I use a small little tube that's called a cannula, and it's hooked up to our embalming machine that has all the fluid inside of it. And it has two gauges. One is pressure and one is rate of flow. So when I turn on that machine, it starts pushing the formaldehyde through the arteries based on how well someone's vascular system is or how completely shitty it is because they have crunchy arteries and plaque buildup. Once that formaldehyde starts making its way through, your vein's going to start draining blood.
Because you're basically just filling space, like pressurized filling space back and pushing it out the other direction.
Yep. And periodically I'll grab that vein and I'll close it off to build pressure in the vascular system, because you want to be able to push that formaldehyde from the arteries into the capillaries of the skin, because you want everything to be preserved. And that's the main focus of embalming is disinfection, getting rid of bloodborne pathogens. And then second is preservation.
Why do we want to preserve bodies?
The main reason I say, because embalming is not required by law.
That's why cremation happens, right?
Yeah, cremation is just going through the roof because people don't own cemetery property anymore, and we're running out of room on this earth to bury people. And a lot of people are becoming more eco-conscious, and crematories became a thing. And it's gone definitely way up. We're at about 65% cremation where I work.
It's pretty high.
And the rest is proper burials. So embalming. People want to preserve because we got family out of town that's going to be here at the end of the week, and they want to be able to see dad. Let's go ahead and embalm, because you don't know between 1 hour and 2 days from now what he's going to look like. And I've seen some people that sat for a week and a half look fantastic. I've seen some people that we come in the day after getting them bright red and look awful.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. So can you embalm and then still cremate later?
Yeah.
Does that happen all the time?
You said that your dad had a viewing?
Oh, yeah, I guess he was embalmed and then cremated.
He was embalmed. Did he look good?
Yeah, there was a ton of makeup. I was like,
Yeah.
the only thing, like,
He might have not embalmed well.
his hands
Uh-huh.
looked a little odd because they were kind
A
of
little
like
dry.
crossed. Yeah, they didn't
Oh,
look
that's
great.
like the normal thing where they're like
Yeah,
this.
but I mean, the
Flashed over
coloration.
right.
Yeah, well, the
Mm-hmm.
coloration of them didn't look right. I was like, pops don't look like that. But when he passed, he was already super jaundice, like
Oh,
extremely
he
jaundice,
had, yes.
cancer.
So
Yeah,
that is why he turned gray.
yeah, he almost looked like lifeless.
Mm-hmm. So
He had
that comes
metastatic
into
liver cancer.
embalming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was bright yellow, like squash yellow, probably. And when you go to embalm, those are things that you have to look for because that can affect how formaldehyde reacts in the body.
Oh,
With
yeah.
cancer,
He looked weird, like really weird.
yeah. So with cancer, chemo can have an effect on formaldehyde. It usually counteracts it. So you want to embalm somebody with a stronger percentage of formaldehyde. Sometimes that can turn somebody a little gray, call it formaldehyde gray. And then that's where the cosmetics comes in. With jaundice, usually you want to do like a flush of the person. So you
Before
do
you run formaldehyde?
before you run formaldehyde. So you want to do a water conditioner and a vascular conditioner. Usually run a gallon through the person, let them sit, and then embalm with a low percentage of formaldehyde. And that's like a normal person wouldn't know that. Like it is really much an art and a science.
What's a vascular flush? What is that? Like, you said a water flush and a vascular flush, right? Is that what you just said?
Yeah. So it's like putting fluid into the body, not necessarily with formaldehyde, and kind of letting it sit for like 10 to 15 minutes. And it usually flushes a lot and breaks up clots, and it helps flush out like that bilirubin, which is what jaundice is.
What I don't know what bilirubin is. I've never heard that.
Yeah. So
yeah, lay it on us. I've never heard these terms. This is crazy.
So when you're jaundice, it's basically a buildup of toxins in your body. Like, have you ever, like when I had mono in high school,
like alcoholics,
my eyes were yellow.
Their eyes are like literally
very red and yellow. Yes.
Can't see this. You know what I'm talking about. Sticking
so
out.
Like when I had mono in high school, I had like a yellow tint to my body and the whites of my eyes were yellow. It's a buildup of bilirubin, which is a protein. And then it's also a buildup of toxins in your body because your liver is not able to filter like it's supposed to. So when we do that vascular flush, it helps filter out a lot of that so that when we put the formaldehyde in, it's like working with a normal case. It can go really well, or it can end up with someone who's either green or gray.
Yeah, he was
and then
gray.
You just gotta,
I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
It was like
and then you just
monochromatic
have
out
to,
here.
But then that's when you get your cosmetics out and you get your cosmetic lighting in a room, and you can make it look good if you know what you're doing. But then sometimes it just doesn't work like it's supposed to.
Well, so his face was fine. It was very apparent that something was going on when you looked at his hands. And like most people, you know, his hands are down on his stomach, right? Like they're not like up on his chest. So he's not like, oh, hello, here's my hands. But if you look really closely, and people didn't get that close in the wake, but the family did. We got like really close, like this close.
He's your loved one.
And you're like, yo, what's going on with his hands, yo? Why does dad look like that? But before, like right before he dropped into a coma, like in our living room, he was so jaundice. I mean, like yellow, like squash yellow, like bad.
Yeah. He turned gray.
Yeah.
But you always gotta, like, the eyes, the mouth, and the hands will give away everything.
What do you mean by the mouth?
Like
what?
How?
Like crusty lips, or what are we talking?
Yeah. So when someone comes in, we have to close their eyes and their mouth, obviously. So we use, I call them spicy contacts, but they're these little plastic, like circular things, and they have a curve to them. And you put them in the eyes, over the eyes, and it helps
under the
keep the eyelids closed.
Oh, okay.
Yes. And it helps keep the eyelids closed. And then it also helps keep that shape because obviously when you die, your eyes lose pressure, therefore they lose their shape. When we close the mouth, we use a thing called a needle injector, and it kind of looks like a little gun. I wish I had all my stuff at home.
And here's
then
the needle injector. And
no,
here's
seriously, I would. Like, I have all restorative art stuff here, but I don't have actual embalming tools because that's a biohazard and just gross. And so the needle injector, it holds these, they look like little barbs, and they have a wire attached to them. And we use that to punch the barbs into the upper jaw and the lower jaw. Then we close it and twist tie the wires. That's how you keep someone's mouth closed.
It keeps the mouth closed, but then it keeps the lips from like collapsing in, or no?
Or
is it just like jaw adhesion? Like just
it just keeps everything shut. All that does is close the mouth. When you're embalming, you want to make sure that, like, when you look at a person, you look at their eyes and their mouth. So you want to make their mouth look as natural as possible. You don't want their jaw to be clenched because it'll change the shape of their mouth. If you need to add cotton underneath the lips because maybe somebody's missing teeth, you just, if you focus on the eyes, the lips, and the hands and make those look as good as possible, you're golden. But the family will be the first person to notice if something is different.
Yeah, and I didn't really say anything to them. I was just like, he's dead, so I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, but see, it doesn't. But that's like, I love embalming and stuff. I haven't been able to do it a lot lately because I got my license, but it's such an art and everything. It's like, I get all giddy when I talk about it because it's the science, because you need to know your anatomy. I can trace a drop of blood through a body and I'll never forget it. But it's chemistry because you got to put all your fluids together and figure out what you're going to use. And then it's an art because you need to make sure that everything looks natural. You want to embalm enough, but not over embalm, because that's when people's hands start to dry out and their eyelids start to dry out. And then it's like, you're also a makeup artist because you have to know your color theory to make sure that if this person's green, I need to put a little bit of red over before I put their foundation on, things like that. So that's a normal embalming.
A whole ass artist on top of a practitioner. Yeah. Go ahead.
But it makes me wonder how all these old men got away with it, because I know they don't know how to do makeup right. And they probably never wash their brushes, which is disgusting.
That is bad.
I think it's so nasty when people kiss their loved one when they're in the casket. I'm like, girl, you don't know where that's been.
I'm good.
I use that brush to do her lipstick like I do everybody else. You nasty.
It's disgusting. I'm good.
I'm good. Gross.
I'm so good. Yeah. Table hazards when you're embalming, right? What do you have to, like, as an embalmer, as a funeral director, as a mortician, like, what can happen to you? Because I'm sure that the answer is not nothing.
No. Should I wear more PPE than a normal person does? Probably. Like, okay. Back in the so what we are supposed to wear is personal protective equipment.
I'm very upset that you didn't wear this for the whole podcast. Just all of it.
No.
All of the new set of PPE. Home, just literally all of it. You just back your camera up and you're literally like, hey, I'm ready to go to the table.
I'll tell you what I should wear and then what I do wear. And if any funeral director tells you otherwise, they're lying.
Okay. Yeah, the tea. Let's get it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're supposed to wear like shoe covers, a gown, gloves, mask, probably goggles, maybe a face shield. If you're really fancy, a respirator.
A respirator? Why are you wearing a respirator? They're dead.
Because formaldehyde is a carcinogenic and it's gas at room temperature.
Isn't it? I mean, aren't cigarettes too? Like, aren't alcohol?
Well, yeah. Yeah, no, those people are just embalming themselves before they get to me. It's true. Like, I bet you by the time I'm 70, my lungs are going to be preserved. It's going to be great.
Oh, wow.
But no, if you've been embalming all day, you can, like, your eyes will water, your lungs will hurt. You're supposed to wear a respirator.
Now, like a 2 can or 1 can or
yeah,
rated, like, what's the rating on that supposed to be? Do you know?
Couldn't tell you. Don't have one.
Oh, sick. So there we go. All right. So you don't wear that. You're supposed to.
I don't have one.
I mean, is that regulation or is that recommendation?
It's recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah. But we get in trouble sometimes for not wearing enough PPE, but usually I just wear a gown and gloves and have at it.
Oh, wow. So you're like Ducky on NCIS, sitting there on the table, like nothing on but just gloves and a blue gown.
You know, back in the day, like
when's back in
one
the
of my
day?
men.
Give me a
like
phrase.
the funeral directors that are like 70 now.
Okay, so they were funeral directors. They started when they were what, like in their 20s? So like 50 years ago?
Okay. Yeah. They would embalm with no gloves. They would maybe have an apron on, and they would just get in there.
Yeah, hard pass again. Like, I'm good sharing water bottles with people. Like, I'm good on that. Like, I'm so fine without, putting my mouth wherever yours is. Like, sticking your fingers into somebody that's dead to find something
in their neck.
Bruh, I'm good.
And I've had there was a gentleman that worked with us that he had been at Turner's for, I think it was like 35 years, and he retired in December. I've had him walk through while I was embalming, and I'm like, hey, I'm having a trouble getting my forceps into the vein. Can you help me? And he'll just like roll up his sleeve and just get in there. And I would get on to him for that. But
that's a different breed.
It's like what we should do and what we actually do. I feel like people would be probably not very surprised, but
probably not surprised, but like, I mean, how much of that is just practicality? You're like, I mean, I could have all these other pieces of equipment, but one, am I going to buy them?
I think it gets in the way.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of things get in the way. I mean, you can look at people that are wearing like the same pair of gloves. Like, look at law enforcement or what have you, when they're patting people down wearing the same gloves over and over that are big, like blade protectant gloves, right? Yeah. So you're not going to get stabbed. You know how disgusting that is to be patting down people and then putting them in your mouth to pull them off? Hard pass again. It's another one of those. No for me. I'm good. Do not put that glove in your mouth. What is wrong with you?
Oh, I get in trouble with my coworker.
You're in there drinking. You're in there drinking a drink in a room, 2 rooms over, and then going in there and doing whatever.
Oh, our where I eat lunch is right next to the prep room.
Bruh, you know, when I was in chemistry in high school, our professor, he was not a professor, he was just a teacher. He would literally make us mouth check so that we weren't having gum. He would check bags for lotion. He was like, you just never know what's in the air in a chemistry lab, and you can't be eating or drinking. I cannot imagine what he would say to you or anyone that works with you if y'all are eating in the same place that you're embalming.
I mean, we don't, like, obviously not in the prep room, but like the way the building's built, it's right there. Like,
nope. Bravo to you. I'm good.
Lounge. They're right next door. But it's like prep room. We don't really use the second one, and the lounge is in the like L shape in the middle.
Pull your gloves off, grab your food out of the fridge, and let's get it.
Oh, I get in trouble because I always play music on my phone when I'm in the embalming room, and I'm bad about like, oh, I need to do something, and I'll like be outside and I'll pop my phone in my mouth, and they're like, just stop. I think it makes me immune to everything.
Oh, probably. There is something to be said for introducing all kinds of things into your immune system. Now, I don't know that I'd go so far as to say you should just be introducing bloodborne pathogens from other people. I would recommend against that one, but eating something off the floor every now and again, maybe not in the embalming area.
Yeah,
but eating something off the floor in general somewhere every now and again, I don't think it'll kill you.
Yeah, at home it'll be fine. But no, it can be gross.
Well, such as life.
Not against it though. But other than that, there's occupational hazards of like getting poked with the needles that we sew with, getting stuff splashed into your eyes. The biggest
Blood?
thing like, I don't think people know it, but like embalming is nasty. Like it's a lot of liquid.
Mm.
And it's not like it's a controlled thing. Like this person, like it can be, if it's going well, it looks like a geyser, like coming out of the neck.
Okay, real
or
quick.
the leg.
Yeah, let me pause you there. Talk to me about the movie scenes, right? Fights, bar fights, whatever. When people get stabbed in the neck and they're flying. Okay, what is that?
It's so, I mean, obviously your vascular system holds
Mhm.
a certain amount of pressure. That's your blood pressure. So when you hit a major artery, you're releasing that pressure.
Mm.
It's got to go somewhere.
So that's
Now,
where it does spray. Right.
yeah, like I've never seen someone get stabbed in real life. I don't like imagine it being like a huge spray. I guess it could be if you have high blood pressure or something. But like when we're embalming,
Lay it on us. Come on.
Jokes is like I hope I get an arc.
Oh, like
when
across
I
the
open
room,
up
like
the
across the
vein.
table.
Like,
whee!
Well, if I can get it to go from the table into the bio box, it's a good day. But I want it to be like heavy flowing. Like when I say like a geyser, a river, and I'll have these huge forceps, hopefully down into the vein to help pull clots out. So periodically I like have to go in there and just because
One more time.
It goes
One more
straight into
time for our visual viewers. Okay, cool.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, so
do you play like a
want
river?
it to be.
Do you play like a river
have an
while you're doing
embalming
that?
playlist, don't you worry.
Oh wow, I can just see it.
Yeah.
Like a river.
But also I like to play music that I think the person that is on the table would like.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Is that because it's a ritual for you? Embalming? Is that kind of where that sits?
I feel like it's like there's a reverence to it. But like if I have a little old lady in there, I love oldies, I will pop that playlist on real fast. If there's like a young kid, we'll listen to some rap, hip hop, whatever. If it's a middle-aged man, I'll get the classic rock out. I'm here for it.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I always like I can't do it in silence just because. But yeah, no, it's like a bonding experience. It's kind of weird.
Yeah. I think I said earlier, some kind of special, right? You got to be some kind of
Yeah.
special to be in the profession you're in,
and you have to be some kind of weird, odd.
Yeah, I mean, weird
morbidly
is cool.
curious.
Okay, yeah, curiosity maybe killed the cat, didn't kill you. We're still here.
It'll make me throw up though. It'll be great.
And that's a no for me. I'm good. You know,
Really?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm not afraid of blood. What's up?
Oh, the first time I saw an embalming, I saw like a video of it and it was an embalming class and we were all like, what the hell? Because I'd never seen an embalming before.
Oh, I'm trying to be PPE'd up and watch some. I would love to do that.
I would love to have you come do it, but
that'd be so cool. Yeah, that'd be so cool.
Unless you said you were a student, and then maybe
I'm a student.
but...
I'm a student of life. Okay, I'd be happy to get a letter to somebody from some MD that I'm looking into this profession. Happy to. That'd be so.
I'm trying to go watch an autopsy.
That would also be cool. I think
that would be cool. Yeah, I'm gonna try to do that.
I can only hope that it's like the movies and like the TV shows where it's someone that is just that kind of special again. Has headphones in, is speaking into their, speaking into their recorder.
You would have to be. Yeah, for sure.
Ducky.
But there's
NCIS, baby.
So even after you get done with the blood and everything getting formaldehyde in, you have to treat the viscera, which is all of your organs. So we take a giant needle. It's probably, it's a thick boy. It's called a trocar. And it's hooked up to a hydro vacuum hose. And I go,
oh wow!
I go to the belly button. I go 2 inches up and over, and I aim
over to the right or left.
Hold on. I'm looking at, like, if I'm looking at the person, it's their left, my right. So I go 2 inches to the right, 2 inches up, and I aim for the opposite earlobe. And when I do that, you literally
Like
take the
angled like
trocar.
this.
Yeah, like, so I want to angle it across
Oh,
the body
wow. Okay.
and go towards the ear,
Yeah.
because what it's doing is it's going to poke the organs and it's going to pull out liquid. So I'm getting any remaining blood. If someone had pneumonia, they have a lot of liquid in their lungs, and all of that poses a problem for leaking and for decomposition. So I take this trocar, and when I aim for that ear, I'm going for the heart. So you turn on the vacuum, have at it. I call it the pokey stabby. And if you hit the heart, you're going to see red in that tube. I yell Yahtzee. It's off to a good start. So what you're wanting to do,
Yahtzee when you hit the
Yes.
heart to suck the
Yeah.
blood out, you
Mhm.
vampire. What?
So like, and what you want to do is when you poke an organ, when you start getting liquid, you let it just sit and drain until that tube goes clear. And you want to hit all the organs.
So you're doing one at a time, or you're just going like all the way through all of them and pulling like that and then just working back?
I hit them individually. So I'll poke each one. So do the heart, lungs, liver, gallbladder, and you can tell by what color the liquid is what you're hitting. And then you turn around, do the intestines, hit the bladder. There's a certain way to aim for it. You go down, you try to hit the pubic bone, pull a little bit back, aim down, you're gonna hit the bladder.
So you're trying to basically like fender bender the pelvic bone and then turn down and then stab. So you know that you're right there. So like, oop, there we are, boom, down. Like down an angle. Oh.
So you're aiming to get all the liquid out. And then once I'm done with that, I get this other little trocar, and it's hooked up to a bottle of cavity fluid, which is just really high index formaldehyde. And I go in
You just
and
fill?
So I just go in and I start, like, I want to aim up top, because what this little like trocar does, it looks like a little gun. Have you ever played BioShock?
Mm-mm.
Okay, never mind. They have a little gun in it that has like a bottle attached to it. It's exactly what this looks like. So I'm adding cavity fluid on top of the organs, and it's going to trickle down, and what it does is harden and preserve the organs.
Oh, okay. Like some sort of zombie movie, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so that's the final part of embalming.
Okay, so if you don't get all the fluid out of all of the organs, then you're gonna risk decomposition and leakage. Now, leakage through the skin or leakage where?
Like through incisions. Like, say
like
you
it'll
had
literally
to do
just like seep
multiple
out.
incisions. Yeah, like it can just like, it just like weeps is the lack of a better term.
Kind of like when you have a wound that's not clean and it kind of like you get pus and you get other things.
Like I've had that happen before, especially if someone's a bigger person. You get all that pressure on their stomach, it can cause fluid to go up towards an incision, up towards the head, and people can leak from their nose, their mouth, their eyes.
Oh, that's like some plague shit.
It's called purging. So the aim is to get all of that out of the body, because we don't want to open the casket and mom's got blood all over her face or whatever else.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, when it's an autopsy, the organs are already in a bag. So what we do is we take them out at the beginning of embalming, put them in a bucket and pour cavity fluid on them and let that sit while you're doing your embalming. When you go to put them, we put all the organs back in the body, because what are you going to do with a bag of organs if you forget? It's the worst thing ever. Having to open someone up and then put them back in and then having to reseal. It's a bitch. So we let them soak in cavity fluid, do our embalming. When we go to put them back in, we put a bag in the body and open it up, and it's just making a lining in the torso. And we do what we call shake and baking. So you take each organ at a time and you put it in this, but it's a powder. It looks like sawdust because it has sawdust in it. It's paraformaldehyde, which is a solid form of formaldehyde.
Dehydrated? Is that what it is?
It's a form of formaldehyde. I don't even remember. It has been a while since I've been in mortuary school. It's like it's a different form that's in powder form. So I don't know about how exactly they make it,
Might be
but it's
dehydrated.
mixed
Regardless.
with
I'm just trying to have
it's
an
mixed
understanding
with
of what it is.
sawdust. Yeah, it's mixed with sawdust. So we basically like bread it like you would a chicken breast, and we put it in the back.
Mm.
And so when all of them are in there,
Why do you do that instead of just like filling it with more formaldehyde?
because the goal is to have as little moisture as possible.
Oh, okay.
So you hit it with the cavity fluid, that's going to preserve it and harden them. Like it makes your tissue firm.
Fossilized? Like fossil it?
Not as that far. Like if you've
Okay.
ever touched a dead person, their skin, it's firm. It's because it's been hit with formaldehyde.
Yeah.
With these, it's hit with like 50 index formaldehyde. So they are tough.
What's
Like
the
a
regular
tough
index of
steak.
formaldehyde that's like going through the body?
Usually anywhere from like 20 to 27.
And what is 20 steak mean? Like, what does that mean? Is that 20 to 1, or is that like concentrate level, or what does that mean?
It's the concentrate level of formaldehyde in the bottle. So it's usually mixed with water.
Mhm.
And so you have different fluids,
Mhm.
and they're different indexes of formaldehyde.
Mm.
So you have anywhere from what they call John de Bomb, which is a 5 index, it's very, very low, to Purple Jesus, which is Intrafiant, which I believe it's like a 30 index.
Who names these things?
The Purple Jesus one is just a term for it, but it's called Intrafiant. You have like there's like 4 or 5 different
So there's
chemical
like
companies.
scientific names, and then everyone in the business has
Purple
key names
Jesus
for them. Oh wow.
It's a decomp. Hit it with Purple Jesus,
Okay.
and it's bright purple, like it's like neon purple.
It'll stop.
Yeah,
Everything.
it's what you want.
Okay.
But so we shake and bake, put the organs back in the body, and just sew them up.
Wow.
But that's when you get that big Y incision that's going up from pubic bone, chest, and then to the shoulders.
And they only autopsy people when it's suspicious, or when there's a crime.
There's a reason for the autopsy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Can someone opt to get autopsied regardless?
You can pay to get a private autopsy. It's
Is
about
that with
$5,000.
Is that private medical, like some sort of
Mm-mm.
hospital group?
It's usually with the medical examiner
of the county.
That's the only experience I've ever had is through the county medical examiner. So they have to have the time to do it and agree to do it. And it's usually like they're not going to be doing any testing. So they're not going to test for genetic disorders, things like that. They're looking for cause of death.
Mm.
And there are families that they want that. And I'm not for it unless you really think something happened or something was wrong. But I just don't see how you want to send your loved one to go be cut stem to stern.
Stem to stern. That would be the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Write that down. Goodness.
Yep.
Stem to stern.
I don't like the idea of like sending anybody I know to get autopsied if they don't have to. But then again, I don't think a lot of people know
what happens,
what an autopsy entails.
They're just like, hey, there's no way that they could have died like this. So we want that. And you're like, do you though? Like, do you really?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I know that teaching university hospitals, like teaching hospitals, they have to do a certain amount of autopsies a year, but that family has to agree to it.
Well, Mom, if you're listening to this, if I die before you, send my ass. It's all good. It's all good. It's fine.
And then I've learned recently that if you want to donate like your body to science, you have to meet like a certain criteria of like weight, height. It's usually weight and height. Like me, I probably wouldn't be able to get into a program because I'm too overweight for what they want. Yeah.
Your BMI is too high?
No, just weight. They're not testing for BMI. They're just going off like how It's usually the questions are, how tall are they? How
Mhm.
big are they? What was cause of death?
Hmm.
Mhm.
Well, the BMI is kind of interesting. It tells me every year that I'm obese, which is just
Mhm.
fascinating to me.
It's okay. I used to have Kaiser insurance,
Mhm.
and they emailed me after like I went for the first time to see the doctor, and they're like, we need to set up an appointment with a nutritionist so that you can get your body weight down. I was like
Yeah. Suck
no,
my
I'm
ass,
good, fam.
insurance.
Yeah,
Suck my
thank
ass.
you.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Speaking of insurance, who pays for these services? Is it all private pay
Who pays funeral home?
for funeral home stuff, embalming, autopsies? Like who pays for all this? Does insurance pay for any of it, or is it all out of pocket?
It is, when it comes to like the medical examiner,
Mhm.
if it's a private autopsy, it's out of pocket. Like you are paying that doctor before
Mhm.
they pick up that scalpel.
Okay. But if it's a
Um,
crime, obviously they're just going to do it.
yeah, and they don't get charged for that. If when they come to the funeral home, when I do a contract with a family, they have three options, and they literally have to initial next to which option they're going to
Is
choose.
is this kind of standard across the industry? Like you've got three
Yeah.
options? Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because back in the day, you had like even Turner's had this rule. Nobody got a bill until after the funeral happened, because it was a big like funeral home had trust in their families that they're going to get paid. Nowadays, if we did that, we would never get paid. So when we do our contracts, the family has to sign next to which payment option they want. They can either do cash, credit, card, check. They can, we have a loan option, which is awful. Like if somebody has to do that, we just need to re-talk about what service we're doing. Number three is if they have life insurance, we can actually file it for them. And then as soon as that insurance says, yeah, we're good, we're going to cut the check to the funeral home, we do the funeral.
Hmm.
And that usually takes about 72 hours.
Okay. Now, what do you do in
Yeah.
those 72 hours? You just hold them?
We just wait. I mean, we go ahead and embalm, but we do not set the date for the service until we get the okay from the insurance that it's good and we're going to get paid.
Hmm. Okay. Interesting.
Because if we didn't do that, we
Y'all
would
wouldn't get paid on so many
lose.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
many
mean,
things.
yeah.
And it's not that we're cold-hearted. It's just we need to get paid. But
Yeah.
also I've seen my boss do so many things when a family comes in and they say, hey, we have $10,000 and we have this cemetery property and this is what we're going to do. And he will be like, okay, we're going to do this, 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 and this. And we're going to do it for 10 grand. Cool.
Even if that's a 30 grand service, sometimes he's got some empathy here.
Well, they're not going to get the $8,000 casket.
Well,
They're gonna
yeah. But like, hey,
yeah,
we'll do our very best to make it work for
like
you because this is the
we're
time.
gonna make this work and we're gonna have a funeral. I've also recently we had a Ukrainian family that are here as refugees, and the dad passed and they literally have nothing. They have nothing back home. They lost everything. They have nothing here. They have a place to stay here, thank God, but they don't have money. We did the cremation. So like you pick your battles,
For sure.
but if you walk in and you say, I have no money, but I want a $30,000 funeral, we gotta talk.
Yeah.
But there is wiggle room for helping families get what they need and what they want for their loved one,
Mhm.
and making it work for what they have. Because if you have $30,000 life insurance policy, I don't want you coming in and spending all $30,000 at the funeral home. No.
No.
But that's why I like to preach there's something called pre-funding a funeral. And it's basically going into a funeral home, choosing everything you want, paying for it, and that gets put into an insurance policy. It's basically your funeral insurance. But what it does is it locks the price of your funeral at that day's cost. So let's say you get a funeral pre-funded in 2020 and you die in 30 years, you're going to only pay for how much it was in 2020. You're not going to pay let's say a $10,000 funeral now could be 30 in 10 years. You're going to pay 10. So I love that idea because it takes all the guesswork out from your family. They don't have to make decisions and it's already paid for. It's a lot less stress. But nobody likes to talk about their funeral.
No. I mean, people think that they're going to escape death. Good luck. Regardless of what you believe in, good luck. I think you'd be naive. I would actually say you absolutely are naive if you think you're going to make it off this earth alive.
Or when people are like, oh, mom's been on hospice for 2 years, but we weren't prepared for this. I'm like, what do you mean you weren't prepared? You knew it was coming.
100%.
You didn't have one conversation about what she wanted.
Yeah, we knew exactly what Pops wanted before it happened. 3.5 years of cancer. We knew exactly. And he was like, whatever your mother wants, I'm fine with whatever she wants. That's it. She's got it.
Happy.
Whatever y'all would prefer for me to have, I'm good with it. You want to burn me? Run it. You want to bury me?
Yeah.
Run it.
Cremate me, please.
Yeah, same. Like, don't spend money putting me in the ground, please. Don't do that.
Oh,
don't.
I'm gonna have my funeral. Well, okay. If I'm young when I die, let's say if it was tomorrow, y'all are gonna embalm me, even though I don't want to be poked. We gonna have a full-fledged funeral, and I'm going to have a casketed cremation. Y'all are gonna pay for that casket, and you gonna burn it with me, and then I'm going inside of 40 keepsake urns.
What's that? 40 keepsake?
They're like little miniature urns. I chose the one that they look like acorns, the ones that I chose. And my boss has to fill them because I want to piss him off one last time.
You get 40 of them? You're going to,
I have good bone density, I'm sure.
What are you going to do?
Everybody's going to pick one up on the way out.
Oh my, you're some kind of psycho. What?
No, everybody's going to have a little piece of me.
On their mantle, right next to our books. Here we go.
It's gonna be a little acorn. They're gonna be like, "What's the acorn?" Oh, it's an urn.
Oh my goodness, that's
I wish
sort
I
of special.
had it. Oh,
what?
If I could get to the drawer, I could show you a piece of embalming equipment.
What do you have?
The people that you'll have to describe it for people that aren't watching.
You'll have to describe it. I have no idea.
I'm going to ask you to describe it. You'll see it. It's funny.
That.
Hold on. Wait for it. One moment. Rustling in the background. There it is. Okay. I also have a keepsake urn you can see too.
Okay. Well, she is currently picking up pieces of equipment off screen. She is back. All right, what is this?
Okay, so this is a keepsake urn.
Oh my, that thing's tiny.
Yeah, it's like maybe 2.5 inches tall, maybe 3. It just looks like a miniature urn. They come in all different shapes, sizes, fun colors.
Like a little
some look like acorns.
Some flowers.
Yeah,
to me.
It's cute. And it has this one has ashes in it of my dog, but
oh wow.
Okay. This.
What is it? All right, spin that thing. So all right, guys, for those that are listening, it kind of looks like a spatula encased in like a reverse drill bit with a handle. So think of like a plunger, but it's all one plastic, not rubber, and there's like a spatula piece in the middle of it that comes out the end.
And this is hollow. Like the end of it's hollow.
So the handle part, in it. Yeah, the handle part has a channel that goes all the way through.
No.
Or no,
it
just
goes
channel on each side.
From here to here.
Does that go into body and then something screwed on top of it?
Okay, so this is called an AV plug.
An AV. Oh, what is that? An AV plug.
Mhm. So you think this is the handle? It's not. This is so this is the handle, and it's literally like a screw.
Okay. The
This
spatula
is
part is where you put your fingers, and the threads are gonna get screwed into your body, huh?
mhm, mhm. So this is for when y'all better not put one of these in me. This is for when you've done the embalming, you've done the aspirating, which is the trocar and the organs, and somebody still, lack of a better term, shitting themselves.
So that's literally a butt plug?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
The
Butt
channel.
stuff and dead bodies. Here we go.
You are welcome. That's going to be
Oh,
the
my
name of
goodness.
my memoir.
Butt stuff and
Stuff
dead
and
bodies.
dead bodies.
Oh, wow. So literally you use a screw-in butt plug on these people that get embalmed.
So we put this powder. No. This doesn't go in everybody.
Oh, I would hope not. Don't stick that in me.
No. This only literally goes into people that like we can't get it under control.
What things lead to you not being able to get it under control?
Let's say literally someone has like GI problems or
Okay.
they died of a GI bleed.
So they got like
And it's
IBS or
literally
something more aggressive.
way more aggressive. Like it's just there the use of that voluntary muscle just isn't a thing anymore.
Okay. So fight, flight, or freeze in those moments.
Yeah.
Get you one of these.
So,
what do you call it?
an AV plug.
An AV plug.
And like it's pretty.
Yeah, that thing is not small now.
So we put a powder in here that expands when it hits liquid. So that helps. And then we put glue on this and just.
All right.
And in women, you can use it in the vagina too if you have like problems. I've never had to do that, but it's possible.
Things I didn't think that we were going to be talking about on this podcast for 1,000 right there. An AV plug. You heard it here first, folks. You can use butt plugs when you're dead too.
Yeah, if you're into that sort of thing.
How frequently do you have to use this?
In 2 years, I've probably done it 5 times.
Yeah, you're wearing gloves for this, right?
I have probably conned one of my coworkers into doing it for me.
Okay.
Because the idea of doing that to someone just makes my stomach turn. I hate it. I hate that, and I hate cleaning under people's fingernails. That's like my thing. Everybody's got a thing. That's mine. Is finger like people. Ooh.
Yeah, it's nasty. People touch all kinds of things.
Yeah, but like little old people that are like a snow globe, like you literally undress them and it's dead skin everywhere, that it's always caked underneath their fingernails. It smells and it's gross. And I'm not doing it. Nope.
Well,
I will con somebody into doing it for me.
Kate, I think that is a hell of a thing to end on. Is there anything else that you want to bring up to anybody?
Hug your loved ones. Tell them you love them. Check on your friends because you never know. And just surround yourself with people who are good for your mental health. It's literally like my one truth. Is protect yourself. Take care of yourself. Because I don't want to see you on my table prematurely. And I don't want to have to take care of you.
Heard it here first.
I don't funeralize friends. It's just not gonna
happen. Okay. You hand those off to somebody else?
I've never had to do it.
In the event that you did?
No, I'd probably end up doing it.
Because is that because you'd want them to be taken care of the right way?
Well, I just want to be the one to take care of them. Yeah.
The empath in you. There it is.
Like if it's someone in my family, I might not be the embalmer, but I am going to be the funeral director.
Well, you heard it here first.
Butt stuff and dead bodies.
There it is. I'm not naming it that, but that's a funny name. And I think that you
Hmm.
should write a book that's called that.
Yes, that's going to be my memoir when I'm old and have like shaking from so much formaldehyde in my lifetime.
Oof,
I'll write my book.
interesting. Well, cool. Well,
If
again,
you do,
what's up?
hold on. If you want to read a good book about mortuary stuff, Confessions of a Funeral Director is a really good one. And Caitlin Doty, anything that she writes, she's pretty funny. So I would
Okay.
recommend her books a lot too.
Right on. Is there anywhere that the people can find you that you want to have their attention, or do you want to stay without that?
I mean, I don't really post anything about work on social media,
Okay.
but what am I? Underscore Lil Ham, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm on
Out
Instagram,
there
but it's
smacking
not
barbells on the ground.
but
So
it's not about work. You wouldn't know what I did for a living. But yeah,
cool.
I just have Instagram. That's it.
Cool. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on. That was a hell of a conversation. It seemed like we ran for almost 2 hours, like an hour 40.
Oh, good.
That's a long conversation about dead
Yeah.
bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Long conversation. But I really appreciate you coming on. And everybody that's listening to this, thank you so much for listening. This is a long episode. Had a great time.
Just bear with me, I promise.
Yeah. You could find us on every social media and on all streaming platforms. We drop new episodes every Monday at 9 a.m. and everything is in full length and snippet format video where you can see our ugly mugs over there on YouTube. So if you have someone that you think would be great to come on, please reach out and let us know. If you have something that you want to see us talk about, or someone we should bring on, or someone you want to see us never bring on that we might bring on just to spite you, just let us know. We'd be happy for the feedback. Okay. So yeah, hope y'all enjoyed this, and we will see you next time. Peace.